If you like fresh minty fragrances or scent profiles, I've got a little treat for you. This is my full review of Abraaj Enclosure. You ain't gonna want to miss this one. What is good, YouTube? Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Mikey Cologne and I want to thank everybody for tuning in. That is right, this is a full review on Enclosure or Abraaj Enclosure. But at the end of this review, I'm going to do a quick side-by-side. This fragrance is meant to be inspired by a version or clone of Amouage Enclave, and my sample turn up. So I'm going to review this and then I'm just going to do a quick side by side to see if I can sniff out any differences or if they are very similar, but I'm going to dive straight into it. I believe I paid about £30 for this in the UK. I don't know if you can see, but I've put a bit of a dent in the bottle. This is a 100ml bottle. It is Eau de Parfum concentration, and if you know the brand Amouage and you know the look of their bottles, take a look at this cap. What does that remind you of? Now, this thing is very minty when it first opens up. Like, I mean, very minty. You've got cardamom, cinnamon, mint, pink pepper, vetiver, frankincense, patchouli, rose, leather, labdanum and amber. Now, spicy, very fresh, minty, green. It even comes across a little bit aromatic in the opening. To my nose it does anyway. And the mint and the cardamom are the main players up top. You do get touches of the cinnamon, but that's in the back. The pepper is in the back. It's all about that green mint and the cardamom. And I think the cardamom is coming across a little bit green as well. And I wouldn't say this is heavy on the greenness, so to speak, but it definitely has a green or a strong green presence when it first opens up. Now, once it starts settling in, that vetiver comes through, and the vetiver here is not earthy. It's a little sharp and it's woodsy. So you get this woodsy undertone that comes through. The spice is still present. That mint is still present. Now, as it starts to dry down a little bit more, the patchouli comes in, and it's the patchouli here that starts to darken this fragrance up. Then the incense comes through, or the frankincense comes in, and here the frankincense gives this fragrance this rich quality, a little bit spicy. Also, it does start to turn a little bit resinous. But that resinous quality or facet that this fragrance has, it never goes more than just a little bit. It starts to turn a little bit resinous and then it stays that way. Then balsamic, you've got the labdanum, you've got the amber. So there is a little bit of sweetness in the fragrance. And as it settles, the fragrance warms up. The spice calms down. It turns from fresh spicy to warm spicy. A very light little bit of sweetness in there. And I do have to say this, that the mint lingers all the way through the fragrance. It's strong up top, it's there in the mid, and it's even there in the base. That mint aroma lingers all the way through the fragrance. Even when it warms up, that mint, it does take a step into the back or into the background. But even in the dry down, there is mint there. I do not pick up no rose in this fragrance, and the leather is very muted. I mean, very muted. And the only time I really pick it up, ever so lightly, is in the late dry down, when everything's completely calmed down, and I'm talking about after an hour or so. It's a very nice fragrance. It's masculine. To me, this is an all year round fragrance, apart from I would not reach for this on a super hot day, because the way the spice and that mint comes across up top, yes, mint is fresh, but I think it might become a little bit cloying. That's my own personal opinion. You can dress this down, it'll go great dressed up. Like I say, it's masculine. But let me take it back to the start quickly, just so we understand each other. Fresh, minty, green, aromatic, starts drying down, woodsy undertone comes through. The frankincense comes in, which adds this rich quality, a little bit resinous, a little snippet of resin, or a little snippet of a resinous quality. Balsamic, warms up, the spice calms down, but it's still there, and that mint always lingers all the way through the fragrance. And in the dry down, it's woodsy, a little bit spicy, balsamic, warm, and a very light touch of sweetness into the fragrance. That is Abraage's Enclosure in a nutshell. It's worth the pickup, I think so. The opening might come across a little bit harsh to some people, the way the spice and the mint flood your nostrils, because it is strong in the opening. I get a solid 7 to 8 hours of longevity with this. On close, it is on there for days. So, good performer. It's a decent fragrance across the board. It's a decent fragrance across the board. Now, we're going to do a quick side by side. Like I say, I have a sample here. It turned up yesterday. And I'm going to spray it on test strip. I'm going to spray this on one test strip and then Abraaj Enclosure on the other test strip and just see what we get. As you can see, I haven't sprayed it. Right. Amouage Enclave, left knee. Abraaj Enclosure. Good atomizer as well on this bottle. Nothing to gripe about. And for the price. Right, first off, I'm going to go in for Enclave from Amouage. Wow. There is a difference. Definite difference, and it's noticeable doing a side-by-side. Sometimes doing a side-by-side when you're comparing clones to real fragrances, you can pick out the differences a lot easier. Whereas if you was to wear one day and then one another day, and you was around people and they didn't really know the fragrance, they might think, yeah, they smell very close, but the quality is, I mean, obviously the quality in the Amouage is top tier. There's no doubt about it. It is a great niche house, and it shows here. Whereas now, Abraaj Enclosure, that opening is rough compared to Enclave. Like, this is smooth. The mint is dialed back a little bit, and it doesn't smell so synthetic as what it smells more of the fresher variety, and whereas this smells synthetic compared to this. And maybe there's going to be synthetic notes in every single fragrance, and some brands use raw materials, but here in the opening it definitely shows that Enclave is a lot more smoother, refined. And now that mint on test strip, the mint is quieter in Enclave than what it is in Enclosure. And to me, to my nose, on test strip, I'm getting the cardamom and the cinnamon are not really overshadowing one another. They're kind of neck and neck. Let me just look up the notes of Enclave quickly from Amouage. I want to see if the note breakdown is similar, if it's different. I would have thought it would be similar. To try and get an overall smell of another fragrance, I would have thought that they would have to use the same sort of notes. Right, Amouage's Enclave has cardamom oil, spearmint oil, pink pepper CO2, cinnamon bark oil, Heart notes is rose absolute, patchouli, olibanum oil and vetiver oil. Base is safino, amber extreme and labdanum resinoid. So basically the same notes, but you can just tell like the way that the Amouage Enclave is coming through. I can even notice on test strip, these are not marks, and I straight away, as soon as I sniffed that, I knew that that was Enclosure. That woodsy quality is there. Right, now that opening of Enclosure is starting to calm down. Now they're starting to be more similar to one another. That opening Enclosure is very strong, like it's really punchy. The spice, the mint, it really does grab your nose. Whereas Enclave come out the gate smoother, more refined, not so jumpy and not so punchy. But scent profile wise, as I'm smelling them right now, I would say percentage wise, Enclosure is probably about 85% similar to Amouage's Enclave. Yeah, see that now they're very, very similar. Very, very similar. So obviously I don't know the dry down of the Amouage's Enclave, and I do know the dry down of Abraaj Enclosure, but smelling them side by side now, I would say they're about 85 to 88% similar. That ain't a bad job at all. Right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. That is a full review and a quick side by side. Yes, they do smell similar, but Amouage is definitely more refined. You can tell that it's just of a lot higher quality. It's as simple as that. And when the opening of this does calm down, it does smooth out. But the first couple of minutes, when you're not doing a side by side, I wouldn't say it's rough, but compared to the OG, that opening is rough compared to Amouage's, or the opening of this is a little bit rugged and rough compared to Amouage's. The quality is definitely top tier. It's a fantastic house, Amouage's. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed that. I tried to explain it as best as I could. Drop a comment down below if you own the OG. Do you own Abraaj? I would love to hear your thoughts. Remember, smelling good's always a pleasure and never a chore. And I'll definitely see you on the next one. Cheers.